Let me ask you a question. As a software engineer, what would you say is more difficult or harder? Building a successful business from the ground up or landing a really good job? Think of a quant developer, let's say, making $800,000 a year. Now, as a software engineer, you might think, well, I can literally build anything that you put in front of me, and this is exactly what I thought. So naturally, building a business would be easy, right? But turns out, when I actually decided to start building a business as a dev, it was quite difficult. Until I learned one particular thing. Now, a little about myself so you know who I am and what I'm going to talk about. My name is Bago. I started off back in 2016. That was my entry to the tech world. Part of my robotics team, 2017, we went on to win the Los Angeles Regional. Afterwards, I went into the public sector with NASA, and then I got into the private sector working as a software engineering consultant. This was my very first ever paycheck, about almost $4,600 for 2 weeks worth of work. And I got promoted to a manager level after about 3 years, and my total compensation was around the $250,000 mark. And then after quitting my 9 to 5, I ended up founding AB Analytics, a B2B AI consulting firm where in the last 7 days alone, we brought almost $350,000 in revenue. I say this not to flex or anything, but rather to showcase that I have been both an employee as well as an employer. So when it comes to a business, I know exactly what that one thing was that really changed everything for me. And not only for me, but for all of the founders inside Code to CEO, my personal accelerator for software engineers that is going to be the world's #1 accelerator for all software engineers across the world. Countless of other developers have used exactly what I'm going to be talking about right now to do exactly what I did. Now, for the longest time, especially after I quit to kind of begin my business, starting a business for me was synonymous with basically nothing in my bank account. In fact, in some days, going negative. And I truly, for the life of me, could not figure out why. I was smart, I was a software engineer, I'm supposed to be high IQ, right? At least smarter than the general population, and yet I'd watch guys with half my IQ close deals that I didn't even know existed. And I had insane imposter syndrome. I used to think to myself, look, I'm in Fortune 500, I'm making $250,000 a year, and yet for the life of me, I cannot make an income outside of my 9 to 5. Is it really that difficult? Am I just not born with the skills where I should be able to do this? And I remember seeing people who literally couldn't even write a for loop to save their lives. They were making more money than myself running these so-called agencies, okay? And I sat there thinking, look, I'm objectively smarter than this person. I went to a university, I pursued a higher education, right? On paper, I'm supposed to be winning. But why are they the ones winning? And it turns out I was actually just asking the wrong question altogether. I should have been asking the right one. And the right question was, what game are they playing that I don't even know exists? Okay? This is when everything started to make sense for me. So let me show you the game that I'm talking about here that truly changed business and made it extremely easy for me. First, we have to get familiar with the game board, okay? And the game board is right in front of you. Each dot represents 3.2 million people, okay? And there are currently 8.1 billion humans on planet Earth, 84% of whom have never used AI, 16% of whom are free chatbot users, 0.3% of whom pay $20 a month for AI, and 0.04% of whom use AI for building. Now, this is a point I want to talk a little bit more on than usual. So before I go to the next slide, I want to make sure you truly, really understand its visual representation. All of you watching this, myself included, are in one big bubble, and that bubble is tech and AI. We think every person has heard of ChatGPT, we think everybody already knows about AI, but objectively speaking, you can say 99% of people on planet Earth still do not, let alone know what AI is, and they don't quite comprehend what it actually can do. Only, I would say, a portion of the 0.3% of people who are paying the $20 a month subscription know what it is. And I guess you can say a bigger portion of the 0.04% of those who are using it to build know what AI is truly capable of. And guess what? That 0.04%, that's you. You watching this video right now, all of you software engineers are most likely part of that 0.04%, okay? So you are standing in a room with almost nobody else in it, truly part of the 99 percentile. And most people in that room are literally wasting the position completely, okay? Good way to think about this is think of two islands, okay? You have the island of business owners all across the world, over 33 million just in the United States alone. And you have the island of developers, once again, millions across the world. Between them is this gap, is this ocean. And this ocean represents trillions of dollars. Let me repeat that. Trillions of dollars in value, okay? The business owners, well, they have a lot of inefficiencies, they're losing money, but more than that, as AI is progressing, these business owners have to adapt to AI. There is no ifs or buts. Fundamentally speaking, especially when the Industrial Revolution happened, what ended up happening? The business owners who didn't adapt to the new technology ended up going out of business. Best example, think of the printing press, the newspaper, and then everything becoming digitalized. How many newspaper companies are you aware of now? Back in the day, they were making real money. Now, you don't really see them anymore because everybody gets it online. Meaning, people have to adapt. Times change. Thus, all 30-something million business owners in the United States, if they want to continue doing business, they have to adapt to AI. That's the gap that I'm talking about. Now, let's first talk about the first island, the businesses, okay? The problem with these businesses is they cannot describe the problem that they're having in technical terms because as we refer back to that other chart that we saw, 99% of people don't even know what AI really is. I mean, 86% don't know what it is, the other ones are using it on a free basis, but I don't really consider using it on a free basis as you really understanding what it is. So if, let's say, you're talking with a dentist is not going to say to you, I need an AI receptionist to handle our inbound calls. A dentist is going to say to you, I'm losing customers because nobody picks up the damn phone in the front office. Okay, that's what a dentist is going to say. And this is the same exact problem. It's just a very completely different language. Okay? Now, island 2, the developers, right? The software engineers. There are also millions of them all across the world, that said, and a lot of them are absurdly talented. Most could build any complicated solution in a weekend if they have Cloud Code or other coding agents. Okay? However, they are on their island, building software that nobody asked for, tweeting about their tech stack that nobody cares about, and wondering why fundamentally nobody is paying them, why they cannot make an income outside of 9 to 5 despite being so, quote-unquote, skilled. And the problem is that there's trillions of dollars to be made between the two, but nobody knows how to swim. The business owners can't swim to the tech side, so the non-technical people can't swim over to the technical side, and the technical side can't swim over to the non-technical side. They'll drown, okay? But here's where this gets extremely interesting in the modern day in 2026. You see, a bunch of people saw this exact same island and decided, guess what? I'm going to build a boat. I don't know how to swim, but I'm going to build a boat to cross that island. And these are the non-technical AI agency guys, okay? They're trying to cross from the non-technical to the technical side. And I'm sure you've seen them everywhere, okay? You've seen all the videos, all the gurus talking about AI automation, agencies, N8N, Make.com, all these things. There's no way you haven't seen them. And they dress well, they talk well, right? They make great slide decks, probably not better than mine, but you get my point. They get into the room with the business owner, they sell them, and the business owner says, okay, build it for me. And they go ahead and build it. And then, complete and utter silence. Because they cannot fundamentally actually deliver. Most of the integrations break. Edge cases pile up. That's why over 90% of these projects still fail. Okay? The business owner ends up getting burned. They go back to a manual process and they trust AI people even less. The next time they get a cold email from somebody or the next time they get approached by somebody talking about AI, they already have a bad reputation attached to them. So what ends up happening is these non-technical guys, these non-technical agency guys, the boat that they built is actually made out of cardboard. It looks great on the dock, but it dissolves the second it actually hits the water or if the waves get a little rocky. So now you're thinking, okay, perfect. As a software engineer, I'm going to win by default then. Well, not necessarily, because now we come up with another problem. And I thought this too, because when I essentially left my job and I had all this technical experience, I remember talking to business owners and seeing just how technically inadept they were. And I'm like, okay, this is my bread and butter. I'm going to help all of them. And I'm going to make a lot of money. But I was dead wrong because I was naive. You see, here's what most developers do, and this is exactly what I did as well when I first started actually setting up my business. I built something incredibly, genuinely impressive, okay? If you took a look at it by objective standards, and I've seen other engineers do this, it would be considered an impressive piece of engineering. I would then try to market it, okay? Based on how I've seen other people market it. Indie hackers on Twitter, posted on Product Hunt, go on Reddit, Upwork, all these places. Everything that you talk, everything that you hear. And people would wait, just like how I waited, and wait, and wait, until I saw a big, fat zero. Okay? Many people would even be lucky to make $1 or $2. Most individuals, myself included, with all the software that I tried to make back in the day, I made exactly $0. And fundamentally, that is because all software engineers, and myself included at the time, never left our island. Okay? It's sort of like we tried to building this beautiful bridge that starts on our side and goes nowhere. It just stops in the middle of the ocean. So when you cross, you're going to go and jump into the ocean, and since you don't know how to swim, you are going to drown, okay? So understand that a business owner is never going to see this bridge. They're not going to browse GitHub, they're not going to go on tech Twitter, they're not going to read Hacker News, they're not going to care about your tech stack. What ends up happening is you built a solution to a problem that you never confirmed existed, you never validated it, for a person you never talked to on a one-on-one basis, in a language that they don't even understand. So how are you expecting them to give you any money? And this is where the disconnect really happens. So all the non-technical people, right, they can get to the other side of the island, okay? They're maybe salesy, they know the marketing skills, they're good with people, but they talk a big game to clients and they can't really deliver as well as they think they can. Most of the time they're gonna outsource it to a technical guy, and that technical guy is probably going to mess it up because there's no PM, okay? There's no project manager there. Now, on the other end, you have the developers who can literally build anything, and they have the technical stuff ready to go, but they never leave their island. They never leave home to go and pursue clients, right? That's their biggest problem. They don't understand how to acquire clients. Once again, do you now kind of understand where that gap is, okay? Both individuals on their respective sides and trillions of dollars of value in the middle. But there's something I haven't mentioned, and this is the one thing that once I discovered, I started making so much money that I thought it was illegal. And at the same time, I thought to myself, okay, this is why people say business is easy, because I fundamentally understood. There's a third player in this game, and that's who I became. And that's who Sandra became when she made over $20,000 in monthly recurring revenue in just 30 days after quitting both of her jobs. That's what John became when he got a $4.5 million acquisition, right, for scaling his business to over $100,000 a month. That's what Dom became when he literally just closed the high net worth individual next to him on his flight for $1,000 per hour of his consulting and becoming cloud community ambassador. That's who Paul became when he closed more deals in the months of January and February of 2026 than he made in his entire year at his 9-to-5, over $150,000 on the 2 months and over $50,000 per month. Damir, who got multi-5-figure paid pilots more so than he ever made at his 9-to-5. So that's who you have to become as well. And that is the translator, okay? Let me explain this. I don't mean like an actual translator, not like a Google translator, okay? I mean a real translator. Think of the people in the room when billion-dollar deals happen, UN negotiations, hostage situations, international mergers, okay? The translator does not mean that you're gonna be the smartest person in the room, okay? Most often than not, you're not. However, you are, without a shadow of a doubt, the most necessary person in that room. And if you take out the translator in this situation, the entire room goes dead. Nothing ends up moving, nobody gets paid, and the deal fundamentally collapses. This is what you see happening consistently. let alone in a business context of a developer working freelance or building his own business on a client. You see this happening in a 9 to 5 with managers, right? Non-technical managers and technical teams. How often do you butt heads against another? Same exact reason. And right now, the exact high-stakes situation that's, let's say, a hostage situation is this AI wave that's happening right now, okay? AI is this high-stakes situation. You have two massive populations, trillions of dollars on the table between them, and nobody who can fundamentally translate the non-technical to the technical and the technical to the non-technical. This has been the biggest problem in tech for as long as I can remember. It was never about skill, it was never about talent, none of that. There has always been talented developers, there has always been talented people who can build stuff. The number one bottleneck in technology has always been fundamentally communication. More specifically, communication between the non-technical and the technical. Whether it's gathering of requirements, whether it's just fundamentally the timeline of things, how both communicate to one another, whether it's what each one is looking from the other. Fundamentally, that's why people end up butting heads, and that's the biggest problem in tech. That's why so many things get delayed. That's why so many things don't go the way they're supposed to, is because technical people don't understand non-technical people, and non-technical people don't understand technical people. It's the gap between them. If you end up becoming the translator, you are able to connect the dots between the 0.04% of the population with the rest of the 99%. Since you already are part of the 0.04%, you get access to billions of people if you become a translator. Because fundamentally, once again, AI and technology is going to be the future. It's not a coincidence that the top 5 wealthiest people right now in the world all have a CS degree, okay? Or a computer engineering background. If you become a translator between the non-technical and the technical world who can communicate properly, then you will become an extremely wealthy person and business will fundamentally become extremely easy to you. And you already speak one language fluently. Code, systems, architecture, you've been speaking this language for years, some of you decades. Now the second language is all about hearing somebody describe their pain, knowing exactly what to build, and knowing exactly what it's worth, so pricing it. Let me give you an example. Let's say a freight company says, we miss 40% of our inbound calls after hours. A translator is going to hear, okay, that's over $30,000 a month in lost loads. I can build an AI phone agent that catches every single one, and I'm going to charge $3,000 a month and go from there. And the business is going to think that they're robbing you because they're paying you $3,000, you're bringing them over $30,000 a month. So it's the same exact conversation, but it's a completely different outcome. Because it depends on which language you process it in. If you look at it from a technical standpoint, you're going to confuse them. If you look at it from a translator angle, you're going to give them exactly what they need. So this is the main difference. The developer builds the thing and waits for the thing to be discovered because they've heard a good product sells itself, whereas a translator will always walk away from the deal with a signed contract before building. And most often than not, the translator will almost always start with a service and then productize it. So how do you actually go about learning the second language? You might be thinking, okay, Bigot, this is good and all, but how do I actually learn it? Well, it's actually annoyingly simple once you see it. You see, your entire career, you've technically already been familiar with this because you have been handed problems pre-translated. A PM talked to a client, they wrote a spec, they broke it into tickets, put it in Jira, and you picked it up and started solving it. So you've been the last step in a chain that somebody else started. Learning a second language is going to mean that you are going to be the beginning of that chain, okay? It means you're going to sit across from the person who has the problem. There's not going to be a PM between you, no specification sheet, no Jira ticket. It's just going to be a frustrated human that's going to tell you what's broken, and it's going to be up to you to fix it. And there's 3 steps in this. Essentially, you want to hear stuff in dollars. Ignore all features and specifications. You want to be able to translate the problem immediately into monthly revenue loss or time, which often leads to revenue. You want to map it to a build. Architect a solution in real time using coding agents. Match the financial pain directly to a technical implementation. Okay? For example, if they're losing $30K a month because calls aren't answered, that's an AI voice agent connected to their CRM. It's going to take about 1 week to build, and you want to say it back in their own language. Drop all technical jargon and pitch the business outcome as opposed to the technology stack. They don't need to know if you're building it using retail, what API you're using, what model you're going to use, okay? You say you're gonna make an extra 30K a month because you're gonna get 40 more leads from inbound calls. So hear it, map it, and then say it back to them to make sure they understand that you understand. That's how you build the bridge between a non-technical and a technical. That's how you cross the ocean from one island to the next. And that's the entire second language. Now, here's a part that nobody wants to hear, okay? The gap between the two islands is not gonna stay this wide, okay? More devs are gonna figure this out. More devs are going to quit their jobs and get into this. Tools are gonna get easier to use as AI advances, and the agency guys are going to level up their delivery as they realize they are churning too many clients. So the window for this is actually closing. And the best way to take advantage of this opportunity is to become what I call a local celebrity. Become the go-to guy or girl in your area for anything software and AI related. Start off with a service and then productize that later. But fundamentally understand, your role isn't to necessarily sell AI solutions or an AI agent. Your role is to create awareness for the 86% of people who are yet to use AI, for the other 14% who are using it on a free tier, and for the 0.3% who are paying $20 a month to pay you more. So your solution-aware audience, the people who are aware of AI and the solutions, is 0.3%. You have 14% of people who are close to that, who are at least problem-aware, and then you have 86% who have no clue about AI at all. Your number one role as a software engineer isn't to just start cold emailing or going on Upwork or going on Reddit and trying to pitch people. Your number one solution, your number one thing you have to do is fundamentally understand what the problem is, make the other individual aware of what type of solution can be used for it, speak it in their language, and fundamentally scale exactly that, first through a service and then productize it. It's exactly what I did. It's exactly what countless other people in Code to CEO, my startup accelerator, did. And it's exactly what's making so many millionaires right now in this day and age. And my personal recommendation, forget about international clients, become a local celebrity. Doesn't matter if you're from the US or any other country. Most people located in first and second world countries are going to be able to make this work. Even if you're in a third world country, you'll still be able to make decent enough living. And that's pretty much the strategy. If you want my help in actually doing this, you can book a free call at codetoceo.com with me personally. I'll take a look at the application you filled out and I'll use that to give you way better guidance on the call itself. It's going to be 45 minutes. And if you don't want to book a call, I highly recommend signing up for a free workshop on client acquisition as a software engineer that will be held on March 29th on Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's completely free for only software engineers, and I'm going to show you exactly step by step. I'm going to break down how to actually get clients consistently such that you build a pipeline. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good one.